everybody, and welcome here to the Voice of the Microsoft Partner. Very excited to have everybody join us here today. We're going to be going over some great things. Really excited to be able to share some insights. We have some great, guests to be with us here today. Justin Hampton is going to be our star of the show. But let me go ahead and pass it over to Sherman here to get us another introduction.
Hey, welcome to the Voice of the Microsoft Partner. So awesome here. We've got a legendary speaker here. If you haven't been in if you've been in the industry, you know him because he's been around for quite some time. He's interfaced with breadth partners, managed partners, and it's just going to be a really fantastic show. We're going to get his insights, not necessarily from where he works, but kind of how he works with partners and what he's seen from partners and some really cool ideas. So today on the agenda, we have WinWire. This is the first thing that we're going to kind of go over today. Then once again, we have discovery, right? Then we have business development and then sales and marketing. So we split these up in about 15-minute increments. So we can do this. Now we will follow up with you with the links and all that kind of stuff. Lastly, if you're on the Teams environment, you're not in LinkedIn Live, go ahead and submit questions for us. Please make sure that we want to make this as interactive as possible. And then number two, if you're in the LinkedIn Live or on the YouTube site, go ahead and put questions in there. We're happy to field those if something up here becomes really interesting to talk about. So with that being said, let's go ahead. We have two people here on today. So legendary Justin Hampton. Justin, why don't you just quickly introduce yourself?
You set the bar pretty high. I think it's the partners I work with that are legendary, and I'm just part of that success. So my name is Justin Hampton. I've been with Tech Data and at Tech Data's Microsoft and All Up Cloud team for about 8 years. I started off as what was called a TPAM previously. So basically a Microsoft assigned tele-partner account manager, helping partners with traditional volume licensing and managing their partner programs, and then eventually kind of grew into program and process development strategist for partners, not just in the West Coast, but all US.
Awesome. And then we got the Wiz on today, Andres Oseguera. Andres, just let's introduce yourself and kind of what your role is and how you work with partners that we work with.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate it, Sherman. Very excited to be here, everyone. If you work with us, you've probably heard my voice a little too much. My official role is the Vice President of Partner Development. I work with our partners here. We talk about go-to-market strategies, help them host some virtual events, as well as strategizing how we're going to be attacking certain sectors of their business. So very fun, very awesome opportunity here, and we're excited to get into the rest of the show. So pass it back to you, Sherman.
All right, let's go ahead and get into the WinWire. So we're going to pull up this comment here. So, Andres, why don't we talk about? I think there's three things to talk about today, right? Why don't you go ahead and these are ideas or things that have happened with our current partner base, and we just want to share those with you because it's really some awesome stuff. So, Andres, why don't you go ahead and talk about the first one?
Yeah, so the first one I want to get into, this is really a pillar of what we do for our partners, is the customer immersion experience, right? We host a lot of hands-on labs consistently. It's something we've been doing and we've become experts at here in the industry. Well, recently we've been trying to really develop these into some more engaging presentations that can really showcase the capabilities of that partner. And so recently, one of the wins that I like to talk about is we're doing a Power Platform hands-on lab. And we were able to actually go ahead and showcase some of the Power Apps, the Power BI, as well as the Power Automate functions that were built into our demo environment for the partner. They were able to close several opportunities in professional services from that engagement. And so it was a really successful event. And I think more than anything, really being able to highlight their capabilities, their expertise is what these engagements are all about. And, it's always a pleasure when I'm able to see the fruits of all of our labors, putting in time and trying to figure out exactly how we want to attack this customer base. And, just something that I get really excited about. If you have any additional thoughts on that, Sherman, you wanted to share, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah. I think, just to understand the mechanics of it. So with our partner base currently, we're driving all of the attendance. So typically for every event that we do, we drive 35 registrants. So we have 35 marketing qualified leads. Then out of those registrants, we're getting about 15 are showing up. And out of every one of these events that we put on, we're getting about 4 opportunities straight from there. But what we're doing is we have to have an offer at the end. We use polling, but we have an offer called, and the one that's really working very well right now is the Azure POC offer, the proof of concept offer, where you get $3,000 to $10,000 in Azure consumption. Now we're getting a lot of people like, oh my gosh, because we're also targeting, right? We're targeting AWS customers that don't have Azure currently, right? And that have indicated a multi-cloud strategy, right? So maybe talk a little bit about maybe the Azure POC offer, maybe how that's working, Andres.
Yeah, so I think it's called the Azure CSP Proof of Concept offer. If you want to learn some more detailed information about it, just, schedule a time with us. I'd love to have a conversation. But just high level, just to kind of give you an idea, the PI program has been something everybody's had, questions about over the last year. And so we were doing some research trying to find some additional opportunities for you to have a way to make it easy to start conversations with these prospects. And so what this provides is an opportunity for 60 days for the customer to be able to test drive a new Azure solution. Got some big news this week, actually. This is now eligible not only here for current customers, but also brand new prospects as well. So anybody who's looking to try a new Azure workload, right? Let's say they've already got some databases in the cloud. They've got a VM in the cloud. They want to go ahead and maybe try some virtual desktops. Well, guess what? I got 60 days risk-free for you to go ahead and try this solution. We know that if they go ahead and actually give it a shot, the majority of the time they're going to continue forward with that product because it's a really good service. And so what we're trying to do here is we're trying to elicit that first initial engagement. And this gives us an opportunity, something that we can use for those customers that may be on the fence, right? We got somebody who's interested, but we really want to go ahead and make sure they get going. Let's go ahead and take advantage of the Azure Proof of Concept offer. So again, you want to learn more information? You let us know. We'll have a conversation about it.
Yeah, and you can just email us and we'll set up a fine time. Happy to talk to you about it. Maybe how about a third one? Do we have a third one that you want to talk about?
Yeah, and it's kind of goes hand in hand with the POC, because that's just in general being able to drive funding for the partners that we're working with. One of the biggest problems was, again, that PI program. Things changed a little bit towards the end of this last month. And so we were able to get a lot of opportunities passed right before this deadline changed. Now, that being said, things are going to continue now into next year, only available for managed partners through managed customers. So it's a very small subset of opportunities, but you take advantage when you can find them. However, you have 5 days left here, unless June has 31 days and I totally made a mistake. You have, basically another week to go ahead and take advantage of the rest of the co-op that you have available. Okay. I'll tell you, I've been working with my partners over the last few months, and I've been stressing it these last 2 months quite a bit because I know the deadline's coming up. I mean, we've been able to uncover so much money that a lot of these partners didn't even know they had access to. I mean, you're earning the money. It's your work. So let's take full advantage of that. If you don't know about co-op and you have some questions, again, we're happy to help. But again, make sure that you spend all that money, because if you don't, you're going to lose it, and then you're going to be upset next month. So that's my biggest, heads up for everybody here today. Finding money, finding opportunities. Is it speaking with Microsoft account executives? What are we doing here to try and drive opportunities? Are we talking to associations? Let's find creative ways to get things going. And that's hopefully what we're going to be able to do for everybody else going into the future. So very excited about that.
Awesome. And just one thing, it fell across my desk this morning. Actually, it was from one of our POCs, one of our Azure things. A major oil and gas company scheduled a meeting with us, kind of a follow-up on that POC. And they said, look, I want to be able to track my oil from literally the ground all the way to the gas. And they've like, how do we build this out? Because they're doing it with paper and pencil and reporting. And I'm like, wow, we need to build a modern data warehouse. Let's talk about AI, analytics, IoT, all that kind of stuff. And they're just like, well, tell me more about the POC offer. And this one's going to be a big one. It's huge. And we're going to run that through our partner base. But it was amazing. It was really interesting. But they came to our one of these CIEs, and we just showed them how to use, Azure, and they loved it. And they're like, well, hey, you're an expert, so let me call you and talk to you about it. Just cool stuff. So anyways, thank you so much, Andres. I really appreciate the WindWire. Just want to socialize that with you. We have a lot of ideas. Happy to share anytime. We're always give first, never ask. Always give first to the partner community, help you guys out. So if you ping us with questions, no problem, happy to help out. All right, so let's go ahead and move into our first session, which is going to be discovery. If Melody, you could go ahead and play that. So, Justin, the first question is, how did you get into the IT business, and what is the superhero story behind you getting into technology?
Well, my story with Tech Data specifically actually goes back before I could walk. My mom worked for a company called Trammell Crow, who was the builder of the complex where Tech Data's major complex was built. And she was the go-between between the CEO and the project manager. This is pre-fax, so she was visiting Tech Data every single day. And he held a contest to name the streets where they were for his employees. And even though my mom didn't work there, she got to participate, and she won the contest and named the streets where Tech Data is. So you flash forward many years to back my time living in Charleston, South Carolina. I was doing new home sales and real estate, and the market crashed, and I was looking for a new industry to kind of get into. And there was a great company called Blackbaud that had a main headquarters in Charleston. So I started working with them on a global team, and then also working on an accounting team. I knew I wanted to move back to Florida at some point, and I was looking at other options, and I did sort of a Ben Franklin close of companies I could work for. Tech Data scored really high on that list of a company that would help me lay a very strong foundation around product and program and technical knowledge, while also giving me opportunity to advance and achieve other goals that I had. So I'm very thankful for the opportunities Tech Data gave me, and that's why I am where I am today.
Awesome. So, kind of parlaying that last question, Justin, I'd love to hear a little bit more about, Tech Data's value proposition, how you're positioning yourselves in the industry, why partners are choosing you, and what you guys bring to the table, if you wouldn't mind sharing.
Sure. Well, Tech Data is can you hear me okay?
Justin, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
You're good.
Sure. So Tech Data as a traditional distributor was doing that sort of vendor-aligned product pricing and availability. That was the traditional distribution model. But in the next generation solution space, you're taking other things into consideration, challenges that both the partner and the end customer have around managing the consumption and the subscriptions, educating and upskilling your team, marketing effectively, having the right sales conversations. And instead of talking about speeds and feeds, you're truly taking a solutions and outcome focus. So I think the way that we're built really helps support partners in that way. We have something called the practice builder methodology, and we use this across verticals and solution areas. The practice builder approach basically takes an organizational level assessment of any gaps that a partner may have in building out a practice, in this case specific to Microsoft Cloud. And we identify those gaps around strategy development, sales and enablement, training, types of marketing and events that you're doing, and operations and processes, and also platform capabilities within your company. We address what those challenges are. We use resources and consultants within our company and the stakeholders at our partners' companies to address what those challenges are and build out a successful practice over a sort of agile sprint methodology. We do have a coaches community as well that lets partners sort of speak with coaches across different solutions focus areas, across different verticals, and also across different lines of business within each one of those. So you might have an operations or sales or a technical expert available to you to talk about challenges you might be having in any specific area, so they can help address those, and then take action on those issues and connect you with another coach or allow you to have another call with that same one. If the practice builder approach isn't right for you, maybe the coaches is the more tactical one that you want to pursue. I think our platform is best in breed as well. Our platform does allow for subscription and consumption management in a single pane of glass, allows you to extend access down through your end customers and even within those end customers down to specific roles and responsibilities at those end customers. I like to give an example of maybe a company that's got locations around the globe and IT departments associated with each one of those. Those different departments may only care about the solutions that they're consuming, the workloads that they're responsible for, and the specific budget that they're assigned. So you can limit the view down to that specific role and resource group and tagging, but you also have sort of a God view available where they can view budget, view billing, and take action on it and place orders on their own. So that sort of takes the burden of having to sell the solution and manage the sales portions for the partner, and let them focus on the technical, focus on their actual superpowers and how they're going to deliver it. We have a pretty strong technical bench as well that can be used sort of as guns for hire in professional service or managed services engagement. Those services can also be, everything's 100% through partner. We don't do anything for end customers at all. So those services can be consumed on opportunity basis. You can buy blocks of hours. And if we're doing any sort of migrations or POCs for you, there's often ways that we can cover the costs associated with those. And we do have a very strong marketing and enablement bench. So from a marketing perspective, I think we may talk a little bit later based on some of the things Sherman and I have talked about in the past, but we do evaluate your marketing posture. We do have tools available to you to begin doing messaging to your customers with very little lift on your part at all. And we also have the ability to help you manage campaigns through either MDF or running them on your own. So I think in a nutshell, those are really strong ways that we help support the partner community.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it. I think it's fantastic. And I know we'll talk about it in a minute, but I had this thing that came across my desk, another one, and I called you up and we'll talk about it. It's so awesome. And you're like, oh, no problem. Then Taylor sent me I was like, oh, this is great. So big advocate, big advocate. So, I think the elephant in the room is there, right? What has changed at Tech Data since the Synex acquisition, or either way? I mean, what has changed since the combination of both companies? That's probably the best way to putting it.
I've had to limit how often I'm visiting my my LinkedIn messages, because it seems like those are the questions I'm flooded with all the contacts I have. And frankly, there is no change right now. We are in the executory stage, which means that there's sort of regulatory global compliance issues where every local government is looking at is it right? Is it a monopoly? Are there challenges, right? And they're addressing all of those things to make sure it's great for the end customer and our customer experience. And it also still has to be voted on by the shareholders. So no change. It's business as usual for now. I've had the benefit of working with our friends from Synex at different events, and I'll say that they're a razor sharp group, the ones I've engaged with. So I believe in the next gen advanced solution space, it's going to be a great benefit for our customers. The only change I could really see happening from a partner experience is you're going to have, if you're working with one or the other today, you're just going to have an expansion of the offerings available to you. I don't see any other change from a partner or customer experience standpoint.
Cool. It's good to know. I mean, with big corporations like that coming together, I mean, there's the first part, then there's kind of cooling off a little bit and kind of getting there. So awesome. And I think both companies are really awesome. And I think, you have a value prop, they have a value prop, and I think the marriage of it is fantastic. All right, well, let's get into our business development section here. We're going to be right on time here. We're landing in this plane. So we'll go ahead and play. All right. So, I think the very first one is, if, in your opinion, okay, you got the pulse. You get the pulse on this. You're right there. You're talking to partners. You're seeing this. Where do you think the industry is going? And what Microsoft products should we look to incorporate in service offerings?
Well, I think everybody kind of knows about the remote work scenario. I'm certainly not an expert, but I think that's going to continue to be a requirement going forward. So focusing on, Teams opportunities, focusing on, securing the endpoint is going to be a huge area of focus, and maybe providing, virtual workstations that can take, initial costs and pain out of it for those customers moving to that remote work experience or looking to extend it for their team. That's an area of focus. I had read a statistic not long ago that the digital transformation has sort of been a strategy and talked about for over 10 years now, but it's really been in planning phases for a lot of our customers, our end customers. And the whole COVID scenario sort of accelerated those strategies into reality. So there's going to be a tremendous infrastructure opportunity where those people are going to want sort of high availability, redundancy, access to the data, having apps that allow them to work remotely and access those apps and have access to the data, and more specifically, predictive analytics data. So those are really big key areas to focus going forward.
So the next one, how do verticals come into play when shaping your business, to address needs?
We have verticalized practices. So within Tech Data, we've got the vendor lines, but we also have solutions groups and verticalized teams. And I happen to see Microsoft's announcement for the verticals that they're going to help partners focus on, and they actually align exactly to the vertical alignment we already have, and that's around healthcare, that's around manufacturing, retail, finance, government, and I'm leaving out another one right now, but those are sort of the core areas that Microsoft is focusing and how we help. Maybe I'll touch on healthcare because we just had a healthcare symposium last week for partners. We actually do a healthcare university where partners can, and we do this for other solutions areas and verticals too, but if a partner has maybe a healthcare focus and they want to develop more of their sales reps, or if they have a intent and stated purpose on building out that healthcare practice, we have relationships with different healthcare providers, be it from educational or from actual hospitals and even small mom and pops and specialized practices where you can go on site and learn the lingo that they're using, learn the compliance and industry requirements. You're speaking with the doctor, the practice manager, the nurses, and you're finding, and the IT departments, and you're finding out about how maybe IoT solutions or advanced solutions can help offset those challenges. And the reason that those healthcare providers have agreed to participate in this healthcare university is they realize that one day they're going to be a customer too. And they want to provide the best possible experience for their customers, which will be themselves in the future. So we're basically training the partners of the future in all of those different verticals.
All right, great answer. I appreciate that, Justin. So I've got, kind of to change gears here a little bit. So we were talking about verticals, we were talking about going to market and some of the technology to focus in on there. What do you think are some of the key mistakes that you see a lot of partners are making today? Something that you feel you guys can help them hopefully mitigate risk, mitigate missed opportunities that, we could kind of talk about here today.
That's a great point. I think one of the big areas partners may struggle is making that shift from having the speeds and feeds conversation to having more solutions and outcomes focused conversations. So, leading with a what's called a cloud adoption framework, which is something Microsoft has available, and this should be part of every sales process. We can educate partners on how to do those or even conduct them on partners' behalf. Another big mistake is not realizing that the buyers that they've been talking to in the past are changing. And I don't mean just changing to line of business, but I mean the way that they buy is changing. So the millennials are now moving into buying positions, and they've grown up in an atmosphere where their customer experience, or should I say consumer experience, has been all digital, and they've been able to do their research on their own. As they moved into these buying roles, whether it be in an IT or in a line of business faction, they are expecting the same type of purchasing experience that they've had in the consumer space. They want to be able to get it now, know that it works. They don't really care about the how. They just want to know that it's going to be delivered effectively. So being able to pivot and address their needs and message to that buyer is the way to go.
I love it. Yeah. So it's more so about having the conversation about how I'm going to help you drive business, how I'm going to help solve a specific problem versus just having a general conversation about the cloud. Right.
Correct. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So, actually, I want to come back to the one we were asking about the verticals. And I was going to just ask Andres here for a second and see what your thoughts are on this idea that we have. So, Andres, could you, we're creating these workshop offers. Can you kind of explain for verticals, not just a workshop, everyone's got a workshop, but for verticals, can you kind of describe, like we just did one for construction industry, right? Can you describe a little bit of why we did that and what the methodology behind it is?
I think it really aligns very well with what Justin is saying, which makes me think we must know a little bit about what we're talking about. But really what the whole concept is, okay, is, these specific industries have these 5-10 issues or problems that they typically face with technology. And so if I can create an engagement where I can really dive into those specific issues and show them how these technology tools, right? Very simple example is, an organization who often needs to provide customer service to their customers, right? How can we use Dynamics 365 for field service to really address those problems significantly? And how can I show you and walk you through specific, concepts about how to leverage this technology effectively? As opposed to just having an open conversation like we were saying earlier about why the cloud is a good idea. Well, I'm going to give you specific reasons and walk you through specific exercises as to how this is going to help solve your problems. So that's really the idea behind these workshops. And I'd love to get Justin's take on this. I think that would be great for everybody to hear.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that huge areas of opportunity to get the message out there is through customer immersion experiences, where you're doing hands-on and you're allowing the customer to sort of solve for themselves and have that aha moment. They're not being sold to, right? They're sort of discovering on their own and identifying how you're able to overcome those challenges using the technology is very valuable. And also, when you do things like the cloud adoption framework or well-architected framework in a more mature customer environment, you are able to basically put all of the liars in one room, right? And get the stakeholders making a decision together on how they want to move forward, where they want to put the dollars. And it does start with that sort of workshop experience.
Now, I think the other methodology behind this, and this is where I think the change really is that every industry, as Andres is saying, has like 4 or 5 problems, right? And that's the psychology of the customer. I want to solve those problems. I don't want to just buy Office 365 or buy Azure. I want to solve problems. So if you design that workshop with the mind of, hey, our workshop is designed to solve these problems because I know those problems in your industry, the offer becomes so different. It's not the vendor relationship offer, it's the friend who's solving these problems. And last piece of it, we have to differentiate, folks. I mean, if you look at 25 MSP websites, they're all the same, and they're all saying, we do the best service. We're the best at remediating stuff. We're 24/7 live, the help desk support. But it doesn't differentiate yourself. So that's what I think differentiates yourself in this way. All right, so another thing that came across our desk here, and we're going to put this slide up in just a second. I'm going to ask Justin, is pay as you go. Okay, where there's a lot of opportunities that are coming. We had one came across our desk, $5,000 a month, and pay as you go, and said, hey, can you help us shape that service, but also put it on CSP, right? And I was like, oh, Justin, hey, how do we do that? Can we do pay as you go with Tech Data? So Justin, why don't you describe it? We're going to put up a slide of how easy this was. It's unbelievable. Justin, take it over to you.
If you want to think about low-hanging fruit, man, in capturing the resale portion of your customer's business, PayGo is probably the easiest one. All you have to do really is run a very simple script that we have that we can share with you, run on your customer's environment. It identifies if any workloads need to be optimized and basically move from the PayGo model, paying the customers using their credit card to pay very quickly and easily with no or minimal downtime, migrate over to CSP. You have the snapshot of what they're consuming in PayGo immediately. Sometimes if it's a very old environment, it may not be a solution that's supported through CSP anymore, so we may have to optimize that, but we can identify it through that script we run immediately, and then we can basically cover the cost of any migrations for you from from PayGo to CSP. By the way, we can do that for EA as well.
Yeah, I mean, when I brought the thing over to you, right away, I got an email back from your support, and they said, look, it's this simple. Download this script. Okay, take that script, save it to a temp file. Okay, run the script as an administrator, right, through PowerShell. And then that connected to Azure, basically sign in. We needed the signing credentials from the customer, very simple. Put the signing credentials, and then it ran the script, and it ran it literally, gosh, it probably took about 15 minutes. It was crazy. It's got this telemetry, got everything. And then we take that script and we email it over back to Tech Data. And then what they do, this is what I loved about it, is that they'll then bring up the design, right? They'll actually test it to see what can go, but then also help us provide and create the SOW to actually do the work. And with the benefit, and just like what Justin is saying, if you think about this, this was like $5,000 or $4,600 in Azure consumption. That's silver competency right there. Done, right? And we have so many, we would talk with so many people every single week and every single month with our Azure VM and Compute Labs that, have done their own buying. They use a credit card to buy the Azure because they didn't know, right? And it's like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. So anyways, dude, this is amazing. And I want everybody here. We have a question. How does Tech Data operate this worldwide? Is the practice and Tech Data adoption centralized or is it by region?
Good question. So different regions have different compliance and industry requirements, but we do, for the most part, we provide the same global experience for partners. From a platform perspective, the platform is available in 14 currencies and 10 languages. Our overall strategy from a technical and operations perspective is very much global. We do everything on global calls and then make it sort of actionable down through our organizations by country. So in US and North America and the Americas as a whole, my VP is Mike Ward, and he's sort of responsible for driving it there. And I know that he's on our global calls. I provide reporting that gets bubbled up to the global leadership all the time. So we take best practices from one another where they may be doing something different. They'll share it with us, and we'll try to adopt it in the US and vice versa.
Very cool. Very cool. Now let's go ahead and pivot over to marketing and sales. So we'll go ahead and play our intro video there, and we'll come right back. All right, so let's get into this. I think we all want to know, what are some things that partners are doing to get new logos? And this is actually really important because, as we've been working with a lot of partners, I work with a lot of years, the majority of our partners are getting new acquisitions by the I'm on fire method. And I think we can all agree that, you get a referral from somebody who says, hey, my client or my friend over here is on fire, please, help them out. You call them, you sign them up, boom, you got a client. But net new acquisition is so much harder than that. It's so hard. And we're always thinking about this. So I want to ask you, Justin, in your expertise, you're dealing with a lot of partners. You're seeing different things around here. What can you share, or maybe something that's cool that's working for partners to get net new acquisition?
My dream job was to be a firefighter, actually, and I do take a lot of those calls. My hair's on fire, and I'm really good at helping partners put those out. But I would much rather help the partners who have sort of a process in place around their marketing, and they have a dedicated process. I think the partners that are having a lot of success, specifically in marketing, are the ones who have a stated sort of plan in place, and they're documenting what their processes and goals are. It's in writing, and they may be allocating budget for specific tools or partnerships or resources within their organization. That's the strongest foundation in my mind. I also think areas where they're succeeding is conducting things like customer immersion experiences or CIEs, conducting the CAF workshop. So if we're able to bring all of that together and sort of have a stated goal and a stated marketing plan in place, and then do it in a way where we're identifying that what's in it for me for the customer with the CIE experience, then that's a great way to win.
All right, so we're gonna I'm gonna keep pushing on that. We're talking about marketing. I think one of the things that a lot of partners typically have issues with, and we've talked about this quite a bit, is you do something for a month or two, and then you stop, and then you try it again, and then you stop, right? And so I guess my question for you is, have you seen this, what I'm discussing there in terms of consistency with results and how much they're ultimately spending on marketing overall?
Yes, I would say that partners, we typically see somewhere around an 8 to 10x ROI on an annual consumed revenue against the campaigns partners are running. And they may not have tremendous success the first time, but they kind of go back to a drawing board. A lot of the partners that I've worked with are using this business model canvas where they're able to sort of quickly edit what worked and what didn't and make those changes, but they get right back out there, and it's not doing it on an ad hoc basis. We're really having an intent behind it. I think another way that you're going to find success here is, doing co-sell motions. So if you're not strong yourself, partner with somebody who is, because competition's getting tough out there and not every partner is going to be able to do everything. So finding that right partnership that maybe bridges gaps in areas where you're not the strongest is where you're going to find success, making it repeatable and having partnerships.
Love it. We got one more question for you. I think we're going to bring Sherman back. So I'll go ahead.
Let me ask you about your CIE initiative. Let's just talk a little about that, because you're doing Tech Data is doing a lot of them, but I'm interested to see, maybe to ask you why and what do they see from their results? Because I can tell everybody about our CIE program. We love it, we love it, we love it. But I'd like to hear, from your perspective, your company's perspective, why and what type of results do you see?
Yeah, I think we've seen the biggest opportunity, just based on what's been sold through our company, is at the endpoint. So doing some Teams and some Office 365 with Surface type of combos. We're doing trainings to help partners win there. We've had a lot of success there, but we definitely are evangelizing Teams, security, and then also security from edge to cloud is also a huge opportunity. If you're able to educate the consumer and help them understand why they should be using it and what challenges it solves for, then it sells itself. You don't have to go out there and do a ton of marketing on it. The customer wants it, and they're not even asking really how much. They're like, I need this because it solves for all of the man hours that I'm spending and all of the potential risks that are out there if I don't have it. Does that answer the question? I'm sorry, I got off on a little rant there.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. I think I'm going to push this to Andres, actually, and I'm going to say, so Andres, we had a partner, okay, that was doing a lot of these CIEs back in last year, right? And the results were probably less than what we had expected, right? But then things completely turned around starting in really February, right? Can you help us explain that a little bit? We're keeping the names private, but explain that a little bit and what they said. This is very compelling, what they said as the reason why it changed. And this kind of goes along with consistency.
Yeah, so couple things. I think Justin's mentioned this a few times, pivoting a little bit, right? I mean, you're not always going to get it perfect the first time. And so integrating things like polling to get better information, integrating a stronger call to action was very, very relevant. However, it's funny, kind of to your point, Jerome, what you were trying to get to, really one of the main points was that consistency, building that foundation from the end of last year all the way here to the middle of this year. As the world has started to change a little bit, as people have started to get back into the office, budgets are opening up. They've noticed that a lot of those people that have come through those previous sessions are finally starting to turn into real opportunities. And so, I think that really highlights, and everybody who's worked in sales understands this too, right? You call somebody once, they don't pick up. You call somebody twice, they don't pick up. If you don't call 7 times, you don't fully understand whether or not that's a real opportunity. I think that's kind of a piece of it, right? Constantly reminding what you do and making sure everybody understands what you can bring to the table. And eventually when people are ready, they'll come look for you.
You know what I love about Andres is he had no idea I was going to ask him that question, and he just knows his stuff, and that's what's awesome. But yeah, I mean, the reality is it's consistency, and it's also, marketing, and sales are a little bit different. We have to understand that marketing sometimes is a long tail. You have to plant the seeds. It's farming to a degree, right? But then our methodology is give first, give, right? And what's happened, what I've seen, recently, especially with this particular partner, is that all of a sudden they're coming back, these people who had attended those CIEs that we did, and they're like, hey, you showed us how to do this. Do you think you can really help us with that, right? And it's like, wow, that's really cool. That's really cool. The other thing too is I think one of the material changes that we've had is having a workshop offer or the POC offer at the conclusion. You have to have a call to action that is enticing, right, to your prospect, right? You can do these CIEs, these customer immersion experiences, and make everyone happy and stuff like that. But if you don't have a call to action that's compelling, right, boom. But I would also say too, on the last piece of it, when you're doing these things, you have to be really careful with the customer persona who's coming. So we've had some partners who have done well with the marketing aspect and have brought people to them. However, they brought the wrong people, right? The people who didn't have the ability to buy, right? And we got to be careful with that. We have to make sure that the target okay, is the right person who can buy, or is maybe 1 degree separation from them, right? And that there's a need or not. And that's kind of why I go back to how we target net new customers and net new customers acquisition is we're looking for dark to cloud. We're looking for the folks that have gone AWS, gone Google, but now because there's a new methodology in the marketplace of, hey, multi-cloud strategy is a good idea, right? Well, now, we use a content syndication marketing company who puts out papers and polls and all that kind of stuff. We find and identify those people. That's how, net new acquisition, that's how offers, and that's how I think, this partner that we're talking about, I know I'm kind of ranting here a little bit, has really turned it around. But it's consistency, but it's also having a very distinct call to action, which is so very, very necessary. All right, so let me ask you this. Are there any case studies that you can reference? You work with a lot of partners, that you can reference and paint a picture of success that you could help share to kind of give people an idea.
Yeah, absolutely. So one area that we do help partners that I didn't really get into a whole lot was we have something that we call click-to-runs, trademark click-to-run solution, which is basically a vetted, tested, many cases multi-vendor solution that happens to deploy into Azure, and we have, gosh, I think about 30 of these solutions live today. It may be as simple as backup and DR. It might be a WVD solution or NetApp, Cloud Volumes on Tap in Azure, or SAP in Azure. Some of those are very challenging to deploy, and partners have customers with those needs, but they don't know how to architect it themselves, so they don't go and sell it. They may pass on that opportunity. They may not even know how to sell it themselves, right? They feel like they have to build that cloud car themselves to go and position it. But we've made those cloud cars essentially available in the form of WVD and such that I mentioned. I'll use the WVD example. I have a partner who has customers in the Louisiana area who, when COVID started, they are a training school for architectural design students, and they're using an application called, I believe it's called Revit, which is a very heavy application. When COVID happened, they were very quickly forced to a remote work experience, and RDS was not able to provide the type of experience that was beneficial to the end customers. They were about to lose their students. It had too much lag, or they were going to look at a very high upfront cost to send out new laptops that had the applications loaded on there in a secure environment. So they came to us. We shared with them the WVD click-to-run solution that we have that is automatically deployed. It does deploy that full WVD environment with the NVIDIA graphics card loaded in there to support the Revit solution. Very easily, it provides a near live experience for that end user. And they basically just did not miss a beat. The click-to-run is deployed in about 1 hour and 20 minutes. And I've got other examples along those click-to-runs where partners are having a lot of success right now.
That is really fantastic. No, I like that, the click-to-runs. Let's see. One of the things that we will have is at the conclusion of this, we're going to send you Justin's contact information, and we'll put it up here. We're not ready just yet. Maybe what other do you have any ideas of maybe some mistakes that you've seen, in the channel that are that people are kind of continually making? What are your thoughts?
I'm finding that in the C-suite, they sort of have an idea for their organization of where they want to go, but there is a bit of a disconnect between the sales side. There are some very, very smart guys and smart companies whose sellers are making a ton of money, and they understand cloud, but they're coin operated, so there may not be a compensation plan in place to incent cloud. So what I recommend there is we've got a few different calculators that you can use and play with at your own company and get specific down to the role. Down to the vendor line that you want to use. But Rule of 78's calculator is a great one to help address that and sort of add that to the compensation model. But that's a huge challenge. Another big one, which kind of piggybacks on that, is just not having the conversation. Partners are, the reason that they find themselves in that hair and fire motion is because the customer comes to them and they've already done their research themselves. They've already made that cloud buying decision, and the partner thought, well, we don't need it. I'm not advising them about it, so I don't need to be prepared for it. That customer is much more educated, at least about what the outcomes are, than what you may be aware. So having the conversation, talking about these new solutions and how they may take costs out of business or address other pain points or help solve for challenges or help achieve goals that those customers are having are going to help partners win. But if you're not having that conversation, someone else is, or the customer may go do it on their own through the pay-go or through some other model.
So that's a good point, because the one of the other offers that we've created is called the Cloud Journey Workshop. Okay, it's just Cloud Journey. It's very simple, and it's 6 hours. 1 hour is like business analysis, right? The next one is your security. Then what have you done? But there's 5 or 6 different 1 hour increments. But the idea behind that, and we got this because we had a couple of partners we worked with that we trained all their sellers on getting certifications. But then they were like, well, how do I start? Where do I start? Or do I just sell Office 365? Just like or do I sell one thing? And I'm like, no. What we want to do is we want to get a view of everything, right? A view of everything. And like a Cloud Journey Workshop, 6 hours with the client, you break it up into 2 days, you get to literally find out everything there's there. And then what that does, also then you furnish them with a migration report over the next 6 months, how to get them to move everything to the cloud. But you now get all their Office or modern workplace stuff, right? Now you get all their infrastructure as a service or cloud. You know what the servers are. You know the whole topology, the security. You can do a whole lot of different things, but you get more. And I think to your point, Justin, you would agree that a lot of partners are maybe going after singular things, but they're leaving so much on the table, correct?
That's true. The ecosystem is expanding. I can't tell you how often my call is ringing where a partner may have had a specific laser focus in one area, but that customer is asking, well, can I just get all of this from you? And you should be prepared to talk about where those solutions are going, and not just sell them what they need now, but think about future casting. What are they going to need in the future? So absolutely be prepared to address the whole solution and not just a commoditized product sell. Yeah,
your answer should be yes, I can. And then you hang up and then you call, Justin, how do I do this?
Well, call my company. Gosh, I got one line. So,
or ping them. Oh yeah, ping them there. We did have a question from the audience. Let me see. How does Tech Data choose technology software partners to fill out their offer? Interesting.
We use best-in-class feedback from not just from our vendors, but we are heavy advocates and contributors to IDC, Forrester, Gartner, Accenture, a lot of different organizations. So we keep a very close eye on industry trends. We do think about it. We have a lot of the challenges that the same partners have today, but we're worried about it on a global scale. So how can we make it scalable at a global level or an industry-specific level? And how can we accelerate the partners practice very quickly? Those are the things that we think about most.
Awesome. Well, Justin, man, this has been awesome. This has been great. Let me make a couple announcements here, and we'll put up Justin's contact information in just a second. Next month, we actually are going to be doing, the title is Hiring an MSP Through the Lens of a CIO. Okay, good friend of mine. You may have seen him in the past. He's now a CIO for a major healthcare company, and he is in desperate need to hire an MSP. So you might be in the running if you come to this one, but he has interviewed 30 MSPs in the last month, trying to figure out the right one to do this. And he's going to tell us all the ins, the outs, and why he didn't choose X, Y, and Z. No names are going to be, so we don't want to embarrass anybody, but it's going to be awesome because we see it through a different lens, and we really want you to come to that one. That's going to be fantastic. Let's see. Let's go ahead and post Justin's contact information. If you could go ahead and do that. I want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to reach out to Justin if you want to. We're agnostic with who, but Justin's a good friend of mine. When I was at Microsoft, he's there. I mean, he's a legend in the industry. So, hey, always good person to talk to. And us, we don't recommend people unless we feel good about. We like them as business people, but also as friends, right? That's really important. They look out for each other, right? So there you go. Go ahead and contact him there. Next, there's the how to contact us. Go through. Please go to LinkedIn and join our group, the Crancer group. So we have announcements there. Pretty cool. And then, YouTube, subscribe to the channel, or just send us an email, Crancer.us or Andre or A.O. Segura at Crancer.us. Happy to work with you. No, we never take any calls where there's any pressure for anything. So just call us up. Let us know. Let's talk. We want to be a part of the community and help out. So no problem. So that's good there. Let's see. I think that's pretty much the it. We're at thing. So Justin, any last thoughts you want to provide? The group here.
I just think the idea of finding the right partnership to identify what your superpower is and how you're going to deliver it to your customers is going to help you succeed. I think calls like this are very educational, informational, and you might find those partnerships through peer-to-peer networking just like this. Awesome. Excited to participate. Thank you very much for your time.
Cool. If you're on the Teams platform, this is supposed to be a networking call too. So go ahead and put into the Teams platform your contact information. Share it with the group. People. That's what we're doing it for. We're not here to sell anything. We're here to have a great event once a month. So Andres, last words.
Last words are just make it happen. If it makes dollars, it makes sense. That's my favorite line of the week so far. So just make it happen. It's been an absolute pleasure, Justin. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Melody, our producer in the back end. She did a great job today. And the Blue Dog, you haven't seen him, but the Blue Dog is hanging out with us today. Anyways, thanks again. Have a great afternoon. Just love speaking with you. This is awesome. Look, next month is going to be awesome too. So see you then. Bye-bye.
Take care, everybody.